Good morning, everyone. This is Geeta from CSE Department, Bharat Institute of Higher Education Research. In this video, I'm going to give the lecture about the topic network layer in computer networks. Network layer, we know that we have 7 layers in a OSI model: physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, application layer, session layer, and presentation layer. And here first, we are going to see in this lecture video, we are going to see the concepts about the network layer. That is, what are all the protocols work here, what are the important operations are being happening here, what is the responsibility of network layer, and what are the operations are being going on. So here what we know already, that is the open system interconnection network layer that handles a task of routing network messages from one computer to another. Obviously, this layer, this network is responsible for transmitting or sending message from one system to another system, or we can say one host to another host. So how this is possible? This is possible by the addressing and routing. Addressing is used to address the system, and routing is used to find out the path by which your signal or the data has to transmit from one system to another system. So here, every network device has the physical address that is called a MAC address, which is assigned during the manufacturing itself. While we buy a card, network interface card, so it will be there automatically. So that will be found out by the IP address, that is Internet Protocol address. So here in this lecture, we are going to see about the protocols under network layer, and so what are the main responsibility, what are the job of those protocols? The first one, very important protocol, is IP, that is Internet Protocol. We know that protocol is a set of rules. So how this Internet Protocol works, so what is the responsibility of this IP? So this Internet Protocol is very important for a system which has to be connected with the network service. Any kind of ISP, it may be Internet Service Provider, it will be connected, but it has to maintain a unique identifier, which is called IP address. So each the IP address has a specific format. We will see later what's the format. So first we will see how it will be. So actually it will be having two parts. It will be having two parts. The first one is network address and another one is host address. See in the slide we have an example, that is IP address. First three parts has the network address, and the another part the last one has the host address. This is used to identify a particular system. So that is the system from which we are going to send the message, or which will be the destination. So here in IP address, IP Internet Protocol, we have two versions, IPv4 and IPv6. IPv4, that is Internet Protocol. This is the older one. That is right now we are using IPv6. And this is the first version. First version of Internet Protocol to be, this is widely used, and this is address is 32 bits and format is dotted decimal notation. So in this place, the IPv4 and IPv6 will vary. Later we will see IPv6. Now we will see IPv4. So this has four parts. Each has octet, that is 8 bits will be there. We know that 8 bits form 1 byte. So 4 bytes, 4 parts. So here number of addresses totally 232. That is each part which lies in between 0 to 255. The totally 232 address will be there. So it has 20 bytes, and it is subdivided into three parts. Okay, we will see what are the three parts later. So here, this is this IP address. Before we are going to the header part, that is next we are going to see the IPv4 header and IPv6 header. Before moving that, first we must know now what is the history. That is when it has been designed, and what is the main purpose of these versions, for various versions. Then IPv4, the first version of IP, it was deployed in the production of ARPANET in the year of 1983. So this is now it is widely used, and this is used to identify devices on a network using system. And the next one is IPv4. After nearly 7 years, it has been designed. That is by the Ethernet Engineer Task Force in the year of 1994. The design and development of this is called IPv4. That is IPv4 is the recent one. Next, we will see the format of IPv4 and IPv6. See, this is the IPv4. See, IPv4 here is, as I told you, here we have 4 octets, that is 4 parts. You know the meaning of octet, that is 8. So 8 bits carries one part. Okay, so that means obviously that is 1 byte. So 2 to 3 digits will be there, not exceeds 255. Okay, 0 to 255. So it can be any number lies between 0 to 255. So totally 30 bits. That is 4 into 8, 32. 4 parts. Each 4 into 8 equal to 32 bits it's carried. So this is the example of IP address, how the IP address looks like. That is so already it has network part and host part and subnet mask part also there, that is optional. That is when we need to connect it to a particular subnet, this last part has to be given with it. Okay, so that it can be connected to the corresponding subnet properly. So host, obviously by the host number it can be identified or connected to a corresponding host exactly without misleading to anywhere else. And the first 3 parts comes under the network part. Okay, that may vary based on the ISP, that is internet service provider. So these are the parts what we have seen in the previous slide. These 3 are the parts. That is network part, a host part, and the subnet mask. So what is this network? It's the distinctive variety that's appointed to the network. So this is network part is very important. So if you with the IP address started, and next one is the host part that uniquely identifies the machine. Okay, on your network. So we see already this related with the host. Through this host part only, we can say that is this IP address related to this system. This IP address belongs to this host. Okay, host is nothing but my system. Then subnet number. This is the non-obligatory part of IP4. That is through which you can identify which subnet it can be connected with. Okay, and so third part. So mandatory fields are the first 2 parts. Through first 2, we easily identify the which host and which network it comes under. This is the header. So each protocol has its own header format in which all the details of the header has been given. So version, which version, then header, then types of services. What are the services are given here? Then length, total length. So then under the types of service, we'll be having the reset flags. Then what type of flags are there? Parity flags, carry flags, then checksum. All these comes under these types of services. What are the services can be provided by the particular protocol version? Then identification. So this identification carries the details, that is through which this data can be delivered to the destination system. So here, see here in top we have 32 split into 2, that is 16 plus 16, right? So this is 32 divided into 2 parts, 16 plus 16. So when you see this header, you can understand that is left side fully you'll be having that is 16 bits totally. So even though you are adding this version part, that is header length and the types of service, you'll be getting 16 as well as right side 16. Again, in left side you have identification 16 bits. In right side you have don't fragment. Then the next one is also that is main fragmentation. That is fragmentation offset. This is used for bit fragmentation. So when the bit is data is being transmitted, if it is fragmented, means that will be decided here. Then time till 8 bits, protocol 8 bits, left side 16 bits. Again, write some checksum. Okay? So when we are doing when we are implementing the error control and flow control, error deduction and correction, when we are doing those type of operation, we need to do the checksum procedure. That is to do that checksum operation, 16 bits have been supported here. That is what are all the operations can be done through this IP. All the facilities and bits will be allocated in the header format. So by reading this header format, you can understand what are the operations will be supported by this IPv4, and IPv4 is responsible for these kind of operations like fragmentation, checksum, all these things. That we have seen already clearly in the second unit. Then we have IP addresses. So from which source to which destination it has to be traveled, and the address of the source system and the address of the destination system, that has been given in the 4th row and the 5th row respectively. Then the options. So what are options? These bottom 2 rows are not mandatory. That is it will be included if there is any data present there, if there is any operations need to be done further. Okay, so options and data. So according to this header, what we should keep in your mind, that is what are the version, the length, service, then right side total length, then left side identification, then right side fragmentation, then checksum, then source, destination. So the one thing we should keep in mind, that is each, when you add this, you should get 16. Okay, as well as what are the things in the right side, it has to be become the summation is 16. So see, we have a fragment offset 13-bit, and here the zeroth and the fragmentation again split into two, each 1 1 1. So 13 plus 3 again 16. Okay, so this is very important now while we are drawing the header format. That is for IPv4. This one is IPv6. Here IPv6, as we saw, this is the latest version, which is developed by the Internet Engineering Task Force, IETF. So this is very important point, that is IETF. How it looks like. So what's the difference between what we have seen already, that is IPv4 that carries 32 bits. Here this one carries 128 bits. So how to represent this? So 128 bits will be split into, as usual, it will be split into 4 parts. So how many bits will be there in each part? And what difference will be there? In IPv4 we had dot, right? Here we'll be having colon with hexa representation. That is the main difference. Next slide I'll show the example. So there are 8 groups, and each group represents 2 bytes. See, first we will see this. This is head here. See, as what we have seen as IPv4, this IPv6 header has been given here. Version that is 6th version. Okay, that carries obviously 4 bits. Then traffic class 8 bits. Then right side we have flow load length, next header, hop limit. So these all are the parts given here for the operations what are going to be done by the IPv6. Then source address, destination address, this is extension headers. So here we don't have the fragmentation, checksum and all. So we have to compare those two, that is IPv4 and IPv6. Then we can understand easily. So here the example has been given. See, as I told you, here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts are there. Okay, so this is splitted by colon. That is the difference between V4 and V6. V4 we had dot, here V6 we have colon. That is the difference, and we have the hexadecimal format also. This one the previous we have seen. See here, yes, colon hexa representation. Okay, because in IPv4 we had numbers. Okay, here we have hexa. That is the difference. So IPv we have 4. That is 4. In each part we have 4 hexa. That is ABCD. That is obviously, that means the hexa representation. So we like totally will get 128 bits. Okay, and that is IPv6. So now this is the addressing. What are the addressing in IPv6? That is unicast, multicast, and anycast. Okay. So first means unicast means we know single. Okay, unicast means, see, from name itself we can say that is unicast means single, multicast means many, anycast means multi, we choose one. How we choose one we will see. See here, this unicast address identifies a single network interface. Okay, so the packet sent to unicast address is delivered to the interface identified particular one. Okay, not all. Multicast means obviously more than one host system. Okay, group of host, that is called as group, occurs a multicast destination address. These hosts need not be geographically together. So any packet, but that will be connected with the corresponding IP. Okay, then anycast means it's group. Okay, that is okay, group, but the system will be chosen, or the host will be chosen based on the distance, maybe nearer system, or which is nearer to the network. Okay, it is easily accessible likewise. So any system will be chosen. So these 3 types of operations addressing can be performed by the IPv6. Okay. Next we will go to the next one. See, here we have a comparison, because we may get confused with this, what is V4 and V6 and all. So for this, for easy understanding, just this slide has been given. So it's a 2 or 3 parts. First one, the number of bits. The second one, how it represents. The third one, type of operations it's doing. These 3 important parts, which lies in between this IPv4 and IPv6. See, IPv4 is 32-bit IP address, okay, where IPv6 is 128-bit address. This is very important first point, okay. So we should be very agree with this because this is very, this is the major difference. And IPv4 is a numeric addressing method. Yes, we have previously we have seen like 192.10.7, right? So that is numeric agency. 69.89.31.226, that is numeric representation. Whereas IPv6 we have seen in the last slide, that is alphanumeric, ABCD plus as well as number also. That is hexa plus numbers, alpha numbers. So alphanumeric, and IPv4 binary bits are separated by dot, and here this is separated by colon. This is very simple, you can easily understand. And the IPv4 offers 12 header fields, whereas IPv4 offers only 8 header fields. And so we have seen the IPv4 header looks somewhat big, right? So it has 12 header fields because it has it's doing some operations like fragmentation, checksum. Okay, whereas IPv6 supports only very few operations. Okay, like hop limit, it's checking the hop limit, and payload length, these two only major operations. Okay, but IPv4 is doing one or two, more than 2 operations when compared with IPv4. IPv6 it's doing more operations. It has more. Doesn't support the broadcast. IPv4 has checksum fields while IPv6 doesn't have checksum fields. This is the last difference we could see in the header itself. Okay, yes, in IPv6 we didn't see any checksum fields. IPv4 had checksum fields as well as another operation like fragmentation, and IPv4 supports broadcast, whereas IPv6 that doesn't support broadcast, unicast, multicast, and anycast it supports. Okay, this is the difference. Or when you compare, you can see these, say these 3 points under IPv4 and IPv6. Next, under network layer we have many protocols. Under network layer we have seen, right, then we have ARP, RARP, then we have dynamic host configuration protocol, then we have a port protocol, many protocols we have. So here we will see ARP and RARP, these 2 protocols. So address resolution protocol. Address resolution protocol. The next one is RARP, that is reverse address resolution protocol. So these 2. What is address resolution protocol? So simply you can say that this is used to discover the MAC address. That is the important part. Okay. So even though we will see the explanation in upcoming slides. So under ARP, the simple point you can say to discover MAC address. That's the point you can keep in mind. So this address resolution protocol is a communication protocol used for discovering physical address associated with the given network address. As we see already, every system or host will be having its own address. Okay, IP address, that is okay. But we have to discover its physical address. That is called MAC. Okay, that is called MAC. So this ARP is the network layer, that is to data link layer mapping process, so which is used to discover MAC address for the given internet protocol address. So in order to send the data to the destination, so for what purpose this address is used? Why we need to know this address? Definitely we need this address for the transmission of data. We need to transfer data from the source to the destination. Definitely we need this address. To this address, when the system will be identified, particular system will be identified by the address. So definitely we need to know the address. That is, we want to deliver something to some house, means we need to know the house address or house number. We want to communicate with some person, means we need to know the person's contact number or any kind of communication details. Likewise, we need to communicate with some system, we must know the physical address or MAC address of that system. So to identify the MAC address of a particular system, this ARP is used. Okay, so how this ARP is taking the MAC address, the PDM access controlled address, that is through the internet protocol. Okay, through the internet protocol. So we will see here, in order to send the data to the destination, having IP address is necessary. We also need the physical address of the destination. Yes, physical address is mandatory to have a communication. So ARP is used to get the physical address of the destination machine. Okay, ARP is used to get the, this is very important point, ARP is used to get the physical address of the destination machine. So here we sense ARP, a request to get PC2. That is PC2 means yes, one of the systems has been identified like PC1, PC2. PC2 is MAC address. This PC1. Okay, so PC1 receives this. Receives ARP and is 192.168.12 MAC to PC1. Okay, so this 192.168.12 is the address of PC2. Okay, that will be given to PC1 because PC1 is asking PC2. Okay, what PC1 is asking PC2? PC1 is asking PC2, send me the ARP request to get the address. Okay. So through this ARP request only, so directly the hosts can't be communicated with each other. So through this, so ARP only one system can communicate with another system. Okay, one system can communicate with another system. See here in the next we have this is the sender, one is the router. Okay, so okay, PC1, PC2 communicated with each other. Next we have PC3. So now this PC3 receives ARP but not 192.168.12 because it doesn't receive the wrong one. Again, it has to give the ARP request properly. That is, see, the fourth system receives ARP but not 192.16. So that is that PC1, that is the PC2 sending the data to the all remaining host. Okay. So here the PC1 receives the address of PC2 because PC1 only demanding for the PC2's address. So PC1 receiving PC2 address. But PC3, PC4 didn't demand. PC3 or PC4 may need some other system address. Okay. If it need anything means it has to deliver the ARP request. Okay. It has to deliver the ARP request. If the ARP request has been delivered through that is through network from a system or a host, it will receive a corresponding address. It will receive the corresponding address of a particular system. Okay, this is the concept. That is how this ARP works. So again, I'm telling that is this ARP is very important to obtain the MAC address. So this definitely the confusion will occur, the traffic will occur, congestion will occur if all the systems will communicate with each other without any proper path or routing. So this ARP will channelize the path. That is, the ARP will sends the information to the particular system. That is, which needs PC1 needs PC2 or PC2 needs PC1 address. Either PC1 needs PC3 or PC3 needs PC1. This request will be delivered to the host, the correct host properly only through ARP. Only through ARP this is possible. Okay, address resolution protocol. The next, the reverse address resolution protocol. The reverse address resolution protocol. This is reverse means just opposite. Okay, through IP MAC has been obtained the same way. Through MAC, the IP address has been obtained. So reverse ARP is a networking protocol used by the client machine local area network to request its separate protocol address from the gateway router's ARP table. So the network administrator creates a table in gateway router which is used to map the MAC address to the corresponding address. Actually, this point is very important. The MAC address has to be mapped with the IP address. Okay, MAC address has to be mapped with the IP address. So that is done by the gateway router. So once this mapping done properly, then only the correct address will be delivered to the host. Okay, so there will not be any mess up. So this, when a new machine is set up or any machine which don't have memory to store the IP address, this needs an IP address for its own use. So the machine sends RARP broadcast packet which contain its own MAC address in host, sender, and the receiver, the hardware address field. Okay, so this is the job of the reverse address resolution protocol. That is, when a machine sends an RARP broadcast packet. Okay, When a machine sends RARP broadcast packet, that is reverse address broadcast packet, which contains its own MAC address in both sender and the receiver hardware address field, the corresponding address will be retrieved and that will be given to the host system. So this will do the just reverse job of the ARP protocol. The ARP we have seen what it will do. This will do the just the reverse part. Okay, from the IP address, the MAC address has been obtained. Okay, again the system need to get the already existing IP address means just it will send a RARP request. It will send a RARP request. Already existing address will be applied. Just the reverse process. Okay, so if we know the ARP will, then we can easily understand the concept of RARP. So this is the so in this slide it shows how it works. So first we have a device that broadcast MAC needs to know its IP address. Okay, so to know its IP address, it's sending the RARP request. So it will be received by the RARP server that receives the MAC and tells the IP of the device. Okay, it receives MAC and tells IP of the device. So this is the job of the RARP. RARP will tells the IP by identifying its MAC. Where what ARP will do? ARP will tell MAC by receiving IP. Okay, the same diagram we can draw for ARP also. That is the same diagram we can put. How we can do? So here left side we have device that is broadcast, that is IP address to know its MAC, and right side we have ARP server that receives IP and tell what is the corresponding MAC address. Okay, what is the corresponding MAC address? So this is RARP. So these all are the protocols. So then next we have some protocols also in the upcoming lectures, like boot TP, boot transfer protocol, then dynamic host configuration protocol, DHCP, dynamic host configuration protocol. These two are very important. So dynamic host configuration protocol, this protocol used to configure the address. Okay, configure the address of the particular host. So when we need to transfer a data or information from one host to another host, okay, we have n number of systems will be there, n number of clients will be there. So when we need to transfer, so we need to identify so which system we have to transfer. Okay, it may be dynamic, not constant, not static, right? So it will be dynamic. So which address it has to be delivered. Okay, to which system it has to be delivered. So how it will be identified? It will be identified by routing table. Okay, so these are the basic concepts of this network layer. So what is the use of this routing table? This routing table will set a path or put a map, like from which system to which system the signal is traveling on, from which host to which host the request has been traveling. All those things will be recorded, and as well as route also, because many systems are involved, it will create traffic or congestion, network traffic. So it will set the path without traffic. It will clear the path and it will make systems to communicate without any traffic. So by this routing, the support of this routing table, so this dynamic host configuration protocol can work. This is identify the host properly, and as well as for the for configuring the hosts. Okay, that is also comes under this network layer. So overall in network layer we can see. And we can say what are the protocols used for this networking. So in physical layer, we have seen the physical components and what are the components are involved during the transmission of data, and then data link layer. So data link layer, how when we are transferring the data, what are the problems will occur, how we have to transfer the error-free data. So what are the possibilities of the occurrence of the error, how we have to detect the error, correct the error. All these things have been done in the data link layer. When we come to network layer, that is our part. That is what we have seen in this lecture part. When we talk about this network layer, so this network layer is responsible for the networking. Okay, how the transmission, how the data transfer will be done from one system to another system. Okay, so what we have seen, that is we have seen the addressing, that is what is the need of this internet protocol, and so what are the types of internet protocol are there? IP address. So we have seen IPv4 and IPv6. IPv4 only numbers separated with dots, 4 parts. Okay, and the 3 parts. The first one network part. The last one is the host, and we have seen an example also, the IPv4. This is the example. See, network path host by the last one subnet. Then IP. This is the header of the IPv4. So what are the 12 fields and what are the basic things on how it will be split, what are the operations are going on, all these things. Then IPv4, sorry, IPv6, that is 128 hack IDs at 28 bits. How it will be separated by colon hexa representation. And we have the example also with the header. So this header, you have to compare both the headers, then you can easily understand the difference. Here we have payload and then hop limit. That is entirely different from the IPv4. In IPv4, these two things we don't have. Okay, this payload length and the hop limit we don't have in the IPv4. These two only we have in the IPv6. Then the addressing, unicast, multicast, and the unicast address. Okay, so where IPv4 has supports broadcast that we have seen in the previous slide, that we have see what are all the operations has been done in the IPv4. And the next ARP, as I told you, this is address resolution protocol. This is here to identify the MAC address with the support of IP address. So to have a proper communication, to identify a perfect system without miscommunicate anything, to have a perfect communication, we need to identify the MAC address. That is possible only by ARP, that is address resolution protocol. And so this is how the PCs will be communicate with each other to obtain its MAC address through ARP. Okay. And then RARP, reverse address resolution protocol, just reverse of ARP, that is through MAC we can obtain the IP address. We have a system that is from one device. We'll see a ARP, that is RARP request. The RARP server will identify the IP, depends upon the MAC. So this is about the